Welcome. You've made it to the third episode of the series. And I know you're probably thinking this boy's wearing the same shirt he's wore the other three videos, which is. This is all happening in the same day. I'm recording all these videos on the same day, so that way it kind of helps me with my time management, right? But, anyways, this is your boy Bo, and we're going to be doing another episode of Quidditch 101 where I teach you how to play the game of Quidditch. With the new Quidditch Champions games coming out, you're going to want to learn all of this stuff now. That way you can use and apply this in game when it releases. So let's get started. So we're going to be learning a defensive route type strategy for when people on the other team are pushing and they want to have mid control or they're playing really hard for mid control. So if you haven't seen the basics video, I really recommend that you go watch the basics video so that way you kind of understand what symbols and what's kind of going on here. So for this instance, we're going to be the red team. Let's go ahead and get our players on the field. So we're going to get our chasers out, identified by the X's, and we're going to get our beaters out on the field as well. So from here, like I said, they're going to be playing for mid control, and usually you can identify this based on how the game has been flowing already, or you kind of see that they're really kind of lining up for a mid type control push through the middle. Which even then, this is only going to apply to the higher tier, higher rank type lobbies. Lower tier to newer players probably are just going to run around and fly around and they're just going to play the game, right? So this is for more the advanced people. If you're not somebody that's wanting to improve their game or really improve the strategy here on the pitch, I don't really recommend that you watch this video because this is definitely going to be for the more advanced players and somebody that understands how the game works. See, I've been studying Quidditch outside of gaming and just real life Quidditch, so I apply what I know from there and apply my esports knowledge throughout the years to give you the best possible strategies. So let's get started. So as we've learned from our first offensive video, let's assume that they're going to run a mid-control offensive play, which is going to look something similar to, let's assume they're going to play for R2. So I have to remake this. That's my apologies. So this is R2, and this is R1 down here. Don't make fun of my horrible handwriting because I'm using a mouse. So like I said, if you've watched the basics video and you've watched the first offensive video, you're really going to understand kind of what's going on here. If not, I really recommend checking out the basics video to understand what R2 and R1 is. And as far as their mid-control offensive push that they're about to do here, I really recommend watching the first offensive video that I posted, the one right before this one. So let's assume that our bludger is down here in R1. He's waiting on a pick, right? And they got two bludgers. So typically you want to send, when you're on defense, you want your bludgers in the back. So these guys are going to fall back. Not your bludgers, your beaters. You want your beaters to fall back. Because remember, on offense, you want your beaters in the front because that's going to be your front line of defense for your chasers. So assuming that we're on defense now, you definitely want your beaters to be in the back line. You want your chasers to be front because your beaters are your most important characters on the field at any given time. So you want your chasers to really hound the ball. So let's go ahead and get an offensive play going for the other team so we can combat it with defense. So since our bludger is in R1, they're going to want to push R2 for offense. So their play is probably going to look something similar to this. They're going to push up. He's going to get midfield control, and he's going to push up to like right here. So he will have the ball. This middle chaser will pass the ball to the chaser on the right, and he's going to come midfield. So we're going to have everybody kind of here in the middle as far as what we need to be ready for. You want your chasers to definitely be in mid. You want them to control mid. So you kind of want them to be kind of in this area, give or take, and really put pressure towards the quaffle, the chaser with the quaffle. Because then once you lock down this midfield here, there's nothing, they can no longer have mid control. They're going to have to pass the ball out to either R2, B2. Wow, crazy. Or R1B1. You're forcing them out of midfield, which is ideally where you want them to be, because once you hit this wall, you can only go one direction. So you're forcing them to pass the ball out to either Chaser on the right or Chaser on the left. So from there, assuming the mid guy had passed it up to R2, but I wouldn't recommend sending everybody. The far beater that's off in the corner doesn't need to be so far up that he can't watch this guy in case the second chaser with the quaffle passes it to the third guy. So you want your beater with the bludger to be somewhat back close to the open guy. You don't want to waste your bludger. You want to really hold on to that for as long as you can. So let's do a recap real quick. Let's go ahead and back all these guys up. So first of all, we're on defense. You know, they're playing offense, so they're gonna go. Let's assume this guy goes over. He goes down. We're in midfield. We are now in midfield for just a recap. He's up straight. Like I said, you want your beaters to back up. So you want your beaters down here, all the way down. And then your chasers. Let's assume that this guy in the middle, this guy right here, has the ball. Or the quaffle. 3 guys down, you got your chasers. Chasers go up, they attack. He's now out. This guy is now out of play. He cannot pass. He passes it to this guy. Let's assume he's passing to R2 because 1, our bludger is still down in R1. So he's going to pass, he's going to go up high. So now the ball will be somewhere in this range in R2. Whichever chasers that you want 1, this beater, to come up and intercept it. Intercept this guy. And whatever chasers, let's assume we have 2 left after that little scrabble. You want them to come up. Both of them. So you want both of them to come up. So now this area right here is now a danger zone. So this is your danger zone. You don't want to be here. But you got to remember, we have one guy still down here. This guy's just chilling. He's probably pushed up into mid now that his boy got hurt. And this guy's stuck up here. This guy's probably pushed up into mid. Maybe he's a little bit slower. Maybe he's just now coming across. Let's assume they pass the ball. They pass the ball to this guy. He would traditionally have an open goal because all of our players would be down. The mid guy would be down, and we only have one guy left. But he has the bludger. No other players would have their bludger. So then your beater can pick up that guy with the bludger, and you reset for another push down the field. Hope that makes sense. I know there's a lot of lines here, but I'm hoping you kind of followed how that, kind of like what we're doing here, kind of how that would work. Essentially, lock down mid, stop the guy from hitting mid. If he happens to pass it out, because there's only one way that he can go, it's either going to be R2, R1, B2, B1, or whatever. Lock him up top. If he happens to throw it to the third chaser, you'll have a beater there to pick him up. So, like I said, guys, this is the 3rd episode. This is more of a defensive strategy for when the opponent is really playing heavy mid. So I'm hoping that you can learn from that, maybe include your own adaptations, kind of learn, implement it a little bit more. So whenever the new Quidditch Champion Games comes out, that you're not unfamiliar with that type of situation. You kind of know, or maybe you can recall maybe in the back of your head that, oh, I got to lock them up top, or I got to lock them down low, or on the wall. You want at any given time on defense, you want to have the quaffle along the ring. You don't want it to have it midfield, because midfield there's a lot of stuff that can happen. When it's on the wall, it can only go one direction, and it's away from the wall. So yeah, guys, if you learned something from this, be sure to give it a like. Like I said, I'll be posting more of these every 2 to 3 days, give or take. So keep an eye out for that. There's also some stuff on my Twitter. I'll link all that stuff down below if you're really interested in following my Twitter and all other stuff. And I also post little snippets of kind of like the next video or give you some ideas. But all that stuff down below if you're really interested in that. And as always, guys, this has been your boy Bo, and I'll see you on the Quidditch pitch.